Welcome. How can I get that off my? Welcome. This community is what it is because of your presence. So welcome into this space of love, support, justice, compassion, fellowship, and worship. Our Unitarian heritage calls us to recognize the inherent good of all people. The universe tradition encourages us to extend love and acceptance to all people. Now time for announcements. Please unmute your microphones to give your announcement. I will start with my announcement. Everyone should stay muted during the service. A reminder that this service is being recorded. Except for sharing times with joys and concerns or the discussion after the service. If anyone has missed a service, they can find them on the UUCLC YouTube link channel, YouTube channel. The link will be in the weekly bulletin and the communicator. Both are on as well as the information for contributions and all activities and groups that are going on here. Visit our website, lakecountyuu.net. Does anyone else have an announcement to bring to the congregation?
I do, Christy. I have a couple of things, a couple of quick announcements that are in the Sunday bulletin. Tai Chi in person starts tomorrow in our church parking lot, Mondays at 11, and you need to wear a mask. Everybody's welcome. And a new covenant circle is forming the second Thursdays from 1 to 3, and you can contact Christy Cleveland if you want to join that. It'll start January 14th. Now, also, our Sunday, December 20th service is going to be done by Reverend Kathy Schmitz, and she has some interesting ideas for us to participate in the Christmas service for December 20th. One option is to send pictures of children in your family, and there will be a collage made, but you do need to check with parents and make sure it's okay because it would show up on the YouTube channel when that comes up. Another option, and those pictures would be sent to Kristen Hughes and Kathy Schmitz, so you can send them to Kristen and he will forward them. There'll also be some kind of written announcement about this, so you'd have the email addresses. The other option is she's looking for about 6 households to participate in a little dialogue that would be taped ahead. It would take about 15 minutes the weekend before, like the weekend of December 12th or 13th, and she has a script all set. And so that can be an individual, or it can be a couple, or a whole family, or whatever. Anyway, she's looking for 6, and she's especially looking for one person who can speak Spanish fluently. And so that's coming up. And those deadlines for turning in the pictures are next Sunday, the 13th. Thanks.
Thanks, Christy. Any other announcements?
I don't see any, Dottie.
Okay. This is our opening words. A real message of Christmas with the time of Advent as it grows brighter and brighter, guiding us toward the aspects of our divine nature. The traditional themes of Advent allow us, through prayer, meditation, and affirmation, to contemplate ways to share our deepest gifts, hope and faith, peace, love, and joy. Today, Advent grows brighter and brighter as we celebrate our coming together as a community. Let us worship. The hymn is How Can I Keep From Singing? Welcome. This community is what it is because of your presence. So welcome, welcome into this space of love, support, justice, compassion, fellowship, and worship. If you are a visitor today, please wave your hand so you may introduce yourself, or you may use the chat box to say hello. Any visitors? We recognize the inherent good in all persons. We extend
Actually,
love.
Dottie, we
Oh,
did
yeah.
have a visitor. Linda Sorrell had her hand up.
Oh, okay. I couldn't see her.
And Janet as well.
Linda, do you want to
She's
introduce
behind a
yourself?
candle though.
Good morning. I am Linda Sorrell, and I live in Johnson City, Tennessee. And Byrd was our minister many years ago, back in the 1990s, I think, 80s or 90s. And she's been a long, dear friend of mine.
And Janet, would you like to say anything?
Hi, I'm Janet Bogar. I am viewing from scenic Mishawaka, Indiana, and I'm a friend of Byrd's.
Yay.
Welcome. Welcome, Janet and Linda.
And I don't see any other visitors, Dottie.
Okay. Our heritage lets us recognize inherent good in all persons. We extend our love and acceptance to all people and beings. You are welcome here, whatever your gender, identity, sexual orientation, racial orientation, identity. We are glad each and every one of you are here. I welcome our guest speaker this morning, Reverend Byrd Tetzlaff. Byrd grew up in the Midwest, got her master's from Meadville, Lombard, and has served congregations in Illinois, Tennessee, Virginia, Indiana, and California. She is currently retired except for an animal ministry, an art ministry, and the occasional blog. And now Reverend Byrd will light our chalice.
Hello. It's very good to be back here. I light this chalice with words of hope and love and peace, that we can all be together and share who we are and keep our light on a candle, not under a bushel. I understand we have spirit of life now.
Yes.
Okay.
It is now time to share our joys and concerns, sorrows, or to set an intention for the coming days. Again, our service is not recorded. Please raise your hand and we will call on you and ask you to unmute yourself. Share for all those things named and for all those that are too tender to speak. We hold them in the light of our compassion and the warmth of our community.
Leonard Susskind was asked, doesn't the very comprehensibility of the universe point to a conscious creator? He replied, it does look like there are certain patterns to the universe, laws or principles. We could not live in a universe that had no patterns. We depend on gravity, for instance. But, he added, we are not anywhere near knowing enough to have an opinion on whether or not there was a creator. In fact, he maintains that not only can we not answer that, we have nowhere near knowledge, enough knowledge to even know what is the right question to ask. Asking if there is a God or not a God may be the wrong question entirely. Will you join with me for a few moments of quiet breathing and reflection as you gather yourself to your center? Will you join with me reciting the congregational covenant? I believe it will be put up on the screen. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
While this Advent time is about sharing gifts, we have the opportunity to gift our place of spiritual fulfillment. This slide will show us how to do this.
The sermon title today is In Praise of Agnosticism from a Theist. And I am a theist, but don't hold that against me. I'm really a very nice person. And you might be wondering why a theist is here to talk about praise, perhaps even recommend agnosticism. Well, because I'm fascinated by what people think about how things work, ultimate reality, the meaning of life, what started it all, what comes next. Those are all fairly important questions. And in most Unitarian Universalist circles, conversations about any of these are fairly safe. We actually can enjoy hearing what each other has to say and not be threatened by it. I love that. I'm going to start with a bit of Theology 101. Now, this is going to be old hat for most of you, and you already know this, but allow me a moment to define the terms. Broadly speaking, there are three main categories of theology. Atheism, a belief that there is no God and this life is all there is. Usually, but not always, atheists tend to be highly scientifically oriented. Now, there are those who maintain that an atheist doesn't really believe there is no God. They're just very mad at God. That's true for some, but I think it's condescending and highly inaccurate to assume that all atheists are just in denial. It's not true. Atheism is a reasonable theological stance, and to dismiss it is unwarranted. Many folks have said there are no atheists in foxholes. Respectfully, I disagree. There are atheists in foxholes, and I don't think they're any more scared than the theists next to them. Theism, another theological stance, is a belief in some sort of a higher power, usually a creator being. And the theism ranges from monotheism, a belief in just one God, to polytheism, which includes many gods. Usually a belief in the creator being has thought to be involved in our lives to some extent or another. It often implies that there's something more than just this life, and there's usually a stated purpose for our existence. I should mention here there's a subset of theism called deism. That's a belief that there was a creator God who created everything in the universe and then went off to fly a kite or something because they're not involved in creation as it is now. Again, there are critics of theists who maintain that they're just people who need security and thus invent a God. And again, I think it is hubris to dismiss someone else's beliefs. You never know, we never know what someone else has experienced. Now, right between theism and atheism is agnosticism. Agnostics believe that we don't know whether or not there is a creative, self-aware force. And militant agnostics would go further and say it is not possible to know. Agnostics have just enough intellectual honesty to admit they don't have all the answers, and they tend to doubt anyone who does. Now, in all honesty, most agnostics lean either towards atheism or theism, but the true agnostic remains open-minded within their doubts. Okay, so those are the terms I'm working with. Now, about Unitarian Universalism. As you know, we are not a religion of dogma. We don't tell folks what to believe. In my not too humble opinion, we are a religion of values, not of creeds. And in a healthy UU congregation, you have a huge variety of beliefs. You might have Christians and Buddhists, pagans, atheists, all sitting down together. And sometimes we talk theology, and that's okay. Nobody's going to poke anybody else in the nose for what they believe. Most UUs would agree we come to our understandings of ultimate reality based on our personal life experiences and our reactions to those experiences. The people we've known, the things we've seen, the books we've read, the movies, the stories we've heard, the classes we've taken, all of that and so much more has gone into our understandings. And no two of us have the same experiences. So it makes sense we will not all think alike, that we will not all have the same understandings. And for me to tell you what to think, well, that's just downright rude. that would invalidate your life and your experiences. That would be saying that my life and my experiences have somehow more validity than yours. I think what really makes us work, despite our theological differences, is that most of us have at least a touch of agnosticism in us. I mean, some of us are pretty sure we know what we know, but most of us think that maybe, just maybe, somebody else's insights or experiences might have value for us. I'm a theist. So what? You may have come to a completely different understanding. And as Unitarian Universalists, it simply does not matter that we think differently. It's not important. What is important is, how do we treat each other? How do we live our lives? Our various theologies are interesting, fascinating even, and our beliefs certainly influence our actions. But I'd like to point out that both a theist and an atheist can be loving and kind, have high moral values. Both can choose to be honest and thoughtful. And if it comes from different reasonings, does it really matter? Both atheism and theism have truth claims. We know what we know, and we know that we're right. And that's why I really admire agnosticism. Agnosticism doesn't have a truth claim. And because of that, it leaves room for all of us. And agnosticism leaves room for appreciation. If I'm an agnostic, I can appreciate the atheist's use of logic and scientific method to figure things out. I can admire their self-reliance and how they insist that justice has to come from our hands and not leave it up to some otherworldly judging. If I am an agnostic, I can see the value that a theist might have from seeing all humanity as their brothers and sisters. I can see that by having faith, sometimes they think they can move mountains, and sometimes they do. Like I said, I'm a theist, but I have chosen to borrow the wisdom from agnosticism. I suspect that most of us do that, even as we grow in our own understandings. But as with every philosophy, there are downsides to it as well. Remember, in effect, agnosticism is a philosophy of ignorance. Agnosticism says, we don't know, and you don't either. And that can be scary. We may not even know what questions to ask. Humans tend to crave answers. We want to know. The atheist uses reason and logic to find those answers. The theist uses faith or intuition. The agnostic offers only doubt to any answer, however it is arrived at. And for some of us, this is problematic. Folks in both of the extreme theological camps, atheism, theism, think that they know the answers. But the universe is such a vast, multi-layered reality. There may be whole bunches of dimensions, for instance, that we know nothing of that are influencing us. There may actually be different planes of existence that we currently know nothing about. And we don't know how this all happened. How come we're here? What's going on? And I don't know right now if I am talking theology or science. Maybe there was a creative force that had self-awareness, something we might call God. Maybe it was all just an accident with no thought or plan whatsoever behind it. We really don't know. I recently saw this quote, "A history of physics. Aristotle said a bunch of stuff that was wrong. Galileo and Newton fixed things up. Then Einstein broke everything again. Now we basically have it all worked out, except for small stuff, big stuff, hot stuff, cold stuff, fast stuff, heavy stuff, dark stuff, turbulence, and the concept of time." I love that. Our understanding is always growing and changing. And it's true for theology as well as science. To think that with our tiny human minds, knowing so very little about what really is, that we could figure it all out, seems ludicrous to me. We truly don't know. We only know what our personal experiences have taught us. And no matter who we are, that's very limited. Sadly, some folks on both sides like to set up a war between logic and faith. They will go on and on about how one is superior to the other. They will point out with absolute certainty how their stance is best. But I happen to think that we need both reason and intuition, logic and faith to make sense of things. Either one without the other is kind of frightening. Cold, hard reasoning scares me. There's no room for humanity, mercy. Scattered, blind faith disturbs me. There's nothing to hold on to, no sanity, no principles. I find both extremes to be very unattractive. But the balance of both, that works. And agnosticism does make room for both. I'm not completely convinced that either atheism or theism does make room, although they can, if they allow just a touch of agnosticism. So although my personal spiritual journey has led me to a particular set of beliefs, and I do believe them, I have to say, I think agnosticism may be the only truly honest theological stance. So be it.
Where is our holy church, where recent classes unite, as equal persons in the search for beauty, truth, and right? Where is our holy writ,
closing words are from Robert Weston. Cherish your doubts, for doubt is the attendant of truth. Doubt is the key to the door of knowledge. It is the servant of discovery. A belief which may not be questioned binds us to error, for there is incompleteness and imperfection in every belief. I now invite you to take your chalice and take the flame into your heart and go out in the world to spread your peace and love. So be it.
Thank you, Reverend Byrd. Your message was enlightening and informative for my understanding and belief. Now is the time to share our closing song, Weave, and we can just use our hands to weave.